Public financing of IB World schools begs the attention of everyone who values education and how taxpayer money is spent in the public school system. Local, state, and federal tax dollars are covering public school costs for programs offered by the International Baccalaureate. It's an entity that's under Swiss law that claims nonprofit status. IBO is headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland, and a regional office opened in Bethesda, Maryland in 2010. So now they're operating out of North America, out of Maryland. But 91% of the more than 1,300 IB World schools in the United States are public funded, taxpayer funded. And most people have no idea that they're in their schools or what the curriculum is and what the intent is of the program. Following are a few of the many red flag issues surrounding IB. Number one, IB programs add unnecessary costs to school operations. These vary with each IB program. IB school fees, new staff positions, non-teaching and teaching, student registration and subject fees, student assessment fees, and periodic program evaluation visit fees, to name a few. Plus, IB requires training that incurs participant fees, travel, meals, and lodging expenses at destinations that are often out of state or even out of the country. It costs an average of about $8,000 to train a staff member. Thereafter, retraining comes every few years as IB changes. The IB program, and I want to talk about the diploma program, which is a 2-year high school level program. In my school district, the desegregation money is paying for this stuff. Now, desegregation money comes out of property taxes. So whereas many cities have to go really get the money from the voters and get it on as a ballot initiative, my district has it because they just have this big dipping pot, which is why we have a lot of bad programs. For those of you who don't have this taxpayer honeypot like my school district does with desegregation funds, here's where the money's coming from to jumpstart this. The 2008 IB North American Action Kit for Educational Leaders says in the United States, schools wishing to implement IB have access to a number of federal grants to help defray the costs for the programs. If a school qualifies, a key funding opportunity comes from the ESEA Title I funds for schools with low-income populations, end quote. The kit also says other federal grants to research for funding opportunities include the Magnet School Assistance Program, AP Test Fee Program, Gear Up, Advanced Placement Incentive Program, Smaller Learning Communities Program, and the Academic Competitiveness Grants. The next thing is the pre-university 2-year IB diploma program is not cost-effective. IB diploma candidates are often a tiny portion of a high school's total enrollment. In 2009, a proponent in Virginia shared a statistic that indicated that 72% of IB programs have less than 10 diploma candidates each year, and that was the norm. Nevertheless, substantial 6-digit amounts accommodate the IB diploma program. July 2011, Tucson Unified School District revealed its annual costs for the diploma program at one high school. For the first 2 IB graduating classes, TUSD spent more than $1 million the first year and $800,000 the second year. There were 32 students that first year, 42 students the second year. 5 students received the IB diploma in that 2-year period, close to $2 million for that program. And even after the diploma program has been around for a while, they like to say, you know, it takes 5 years for the program to work itself out. Well, we have Gallus High School in Arizona. After 20 years, they're still only graduating like one or two kids with a diploma a year.
Don't taxpayers complain about this?
People don't know about it. People do not know this. You have to go digging for this information. I talked about the diploma program, and that's 2-year high school level. This next one, I'm going to just give you a little brief idea of the middle years program. The IB middle years program for ages 11 to 15 is a poor preparation for the diploma program. IB teachers criticize that middle years program suddenly stops in grade 10. There is no articulation between MYP and the IB diploma program, and that the middle years program does not really provide the opportunity to hone the skills needed to be successful diploma program students. What about the many middle years program graduates who don't qualify for the diploma program? In 2012, the IBO will allow IB diploma program schools to offer an IB career-related certificate for students ages 16 to 19 years old. Those are the kids that won't be up to speed academically to go into the diploma program and receive the actual IB diploma. Okay, next, I'd like to say a few things about the primary years program, which is for ages 3 to 12-year-olds, roughly. Some of the staff at primary years program schools have remarked that the IB program has no place in elementary school. It takes too much emphasis off learning the basics. It takes teachers out of the classroom for too many meetings, and it takes administrators on expensive cross-country business trips. There was so much time spent on the IB stuff and time taken away from the true academics, which is very frustrating when you have students that you help on academics but can't. IB changes education's purpose, content, and teaching methods, predictably supporting agendas of the IBO, which is an official non-governmental organization of the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, which is UNESCO. If you strip away the IB marketing puffery and suddenly the IB drivel about rigor and international mindedness and quality education for a better world become nothing more than phrases that obscure the integration of non-academic goals that support United Nations issues, such as Agenda 21 Sustainable Development. UN Agenda 21 tramples values of individual liberty, private property, and equality under the law, but that's a story for another day, and that'll be tomorrow. If you pick up my paper, IB Unraveled, that has a lot more information. And I just want to read one more thing here. International Baccalaureate does not belong in public schools. And while higher cost is a big problem, it's what IB is, does, or fails to do that is of greater concern. This became apparent during my research that was initiated in part because of my history. During the 11th and 12th grade, I lived outside the United States and attended a private K-12 international school with students from many countries. There was no International Baccalaureate program. The high school standards supported admission into the top U.S. higher education institutions. Years after I graduated from the international school, IB appeared as an option, and I wondered why. Given my background, I might have welcomed IB, but as I learned more about the program, it was obvious that IB intends to create a particular kind of global citizen and a particular kind of intercultural understanding and respect. The IB brand is troubling. It supports UN issues such as Agenda 21, Sustainable Development, disarmament under the guise of peace, a collectivist view of social justice, a consensus-building type of civic engagement, and more. Cloaked in utopian feel-good jargon, the UN system is communitarian in nature, or communist. Communitarian being communist. Strip away the high-sounding rhetoric, and what comes into view is central planning for all aspects of life, from cradle to grave. IB supports a global system that requires a population to be adaptable to change and be agents of social change. Why? And exactly what kind of change is looming? Bottom line, these strategic plans of social engineers will only produce a sustainable world for a gaggle of self-appointed and their ilk, who regulate and monitor what the rest of us think and value and how we live. Those who are adverse to Big Brother machinations need to watch the international stage and pay attention to the type of so-called education programs that are funded with local, state, and federal tax dollars. I emphasize that IB is not the only problem. Other education innovations use similar methods to meet similar objectives. This is a tasteless joke on the public. Many programs share the same affective with an A, which means value, attitude, and behavioral goals, under the cover of special themes, school choice, community education, and others. If these are not in your area, just wait. School districts need only to acquire a large enough pot of money and replace the existing teachers in the system, you know, the ones who value teaching. If public schools are to educate, there must be a halt to public-private partnerships that allow for private self-interest meddling and an end to the taxpayer funding of unsubstantiated, progressive, humanistic experiments with children. A permanent fix requires school leaders who will not continue to subvert education. It is not costly to provide students with a strong academic foundation and extracurricular activities that help build a solid base for a wide range of life options. But a cradle-to-grave, lifelong education, social engineering system is an unjustified economic burden that reduces opportunities. IB programs globally spread this concoction. Community members would be wise to look carefully before leaping off this cliff. So if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to, yes.
Is there any other, say, an acronym or any other language or name for this program?
Not really, because what the school districts have to do is go through an application process. It takes 2 or 3 years. They pay money out every year, and they have to submit documents, and it's supposed to be going through these community processes, make sure everybody wants IB. And that's all happening oftentimes under the public radar, because they just pick their friends to go to these meetings. It's the same thing as with Agenda 21 Sustainable. Yeah, everything's pretty much rigged.
Your neighbor. Well, they have to be giving money for this, right? They're paying out money.
Oh, yeah. They have to pay. They
If you look.
Yeah. Yes, you can find it, but IB, the acronym I and B, yeah, International or if you see the term IB World Schools, because once you become authorized to teach the IB curriculum, you then can use the title IB World School. Now, if you think about this, this is almost like the biggest school district in our entire country that nobody knows anything about. What school district in the U.S. has, you know, well over 1,300 schools in it? And if you have legal, no, IB, IB schools.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean, yes.
All the legal issues have to go back to Geneva if you've got problems with this program.
It's like a school district. It really is.
Is there also a site to go to check for this, to look up?
So I happen to have done a survey of all the schools. It took me a long time to get the names of all the schools in this entire, well, in the United States, and put them all together. So you can look at this. Tell you what, why don't I pass this around and you can look, you can look through your eyes. Everybody goes like, there's one more thing I want to just mention I've got. It's called Beyond IB Puffery. And what I had been doing was saving all the articles and reports done by school districts, parents, teachers, administrators, all the comments I could find from many different sources, different articles and comments. And these are all available online on AmericanDeception.com, my last name, and International Baccalaureate, you'll have things. Yes.
After retiring as a music educator, 29 years, and going and doing some substituting in Greeley, high school, middle school, and high school. I substituted for the band director. That particular class was sitting down, listening to classical music, maybe making some comments about it, maybe writing a report or something like that. But in his office, he had a booklet, and it was on IB music using theory, music theory. I scanned through that and I said to myself, I wouldn't teach this in the high school. It really doesn't have a lot of value. I mean, if I'm going to teach music theory, I've got better materials to use. It seems to me that the Greeley students that were there, most of them came from homes that were fairly well-to-do, but it appeared to me that it didn't sound like it was a really big thing in the school, and it appeared to me as something that, was a little bit of extra fluff that, it didn't seem all that important. But I have a question. Do they teach in the program, in any of the courses, sex ed? I'm sure they're teaching the worldview.
They have a different structure. They don't have to list it, actually, if they want to. They can just integrate it into anything they want. I mean, a lot of things that happen in there you never know about unless you know a kid that's in the program. And one thing I want to mention, because this is really important, as the IB diploma program, so this is at the high school level now, as it has grown around the country, at least in the records I have so far up till 2008, the percentage of students receiving the diploma is actually going down as there are more schools and more students in the program. Creativity Action Service is one of 3 core requirements of the IB diploma program. It is the single biggest reason that students fail to receive the IB diploma.